generally, the charities in the past have lacked a sort of plan. They spend all their time dealing with the crisis as it is, but are doing nothing to change things for the future. In some cases, I think people care more about animals than people, and I'm sympathetic with that, but I think it's a dangerous way to go. I think we should be promoting humanity, which is both humans and people. And we heard yesterday with the project where Dogs Trust are going out to the homeless with dogs. You have to, I think, treat the dogs in the context of the community, and that involves the family or whoever owns the dog. And you can't divorce the two, I believe. And I think sometimes the people feel abandoned by the rest of the society. They're the only ones that care. They think that they're the only ones that can solve the problem. And traditionally, and we've heard this morning, are unwilling to work with others. You know, everybody, we're the only people that understand welfare. This other group are terrible. We're going to solve the problem ourselves. And often, my experience is that sometimes the standards in the shelters or the things are pretty poor. They're so busy trying to do the work, they may be blinkered to the welfare in their own situation. As I say, you are the converted, and maybe that doesn't reflect you. But this is, if you like, the image that a lot of vets have about welfare people. And your image of vets is that they're money grabbing, whatever, okay, and they don't care. So, what has happened to charities? They've actually gone through a very similar evolution, and there are many examples in this room. This is Dogs Trust, but they've had to become professional. They are a business. They have a staff that they're employed for specific reasons. So they're all animal people in a way, but that's not the reason they're employed. They may be experts in education, or the law, or fundraising, or whatever. So you have a staff to do the job, and so you're professional, and it's a big business. Alliances and cooperation, we've heard how important this is from Sonia yesterday with the EU, how that's important. But we heard also yesterday from the Cats Protection on the local level, you can have alliances, and actually working together is a good thing. And I believe it is possible that in these local alliances, you can involve vet practices to good effect, to benefit both the practice and yourselves. So don't forget that the vets could be part of this alliance. And I think the most important thing is that education is an essential component of that. There's also, I think, been a change from the welfare perspective in what you're trying to achieve. So from the rehoming point of view, I think it used to just be, we've rehomed X number of dogs. It doesn't matter where they went to. But I think there's much more emphasis now on rehoming the dog to the right person, because clearly there's less risk of them abandonment or giving it back because you've done nothing. So I think there's been a lot of work and a lot of change in the quality of the work. We've talked about this morning already the catch, neuter and release, and perhaps the move to collect, neuter and return. So it's community involvement. So things have moved on. And I think the feeling that every intervention you do is an opportunity for education. And education is the key. Unless you change people's behaviour, there will be no change in welfare. So there's also been a change, I think. Animal welfare used to be preventing suffering, I guess. But we know there's a spectrum from suffering at one end to having a really good time at the other end, quality of life. And I think people have moved the goalposts a little bit, that there's much more emphasis on trying within charities to stress the good things, not just prevent suffering, but say there are all these good things, enrichment and so on to do. And that probably is a change from the 50s. And image is is important for you as much as it is for practice. If you are seriously going to go and lobby governments and whatever from a tin shack like the dentist in Laos, they're not going to listen. You have to be professional. This means clearly an investment in money and time and effort, but it works because you achieve your aim. And so I think you've done the same as us. And you are all here, you network. So you from your countries rightly now know about what's happening with Dogs Trust or the Blue Cross or whatever, and you're trying to up your game to meet them. So you're going through the same process. So I think if you look at vet practice, we've come from James Herriot, and we're now a business, we're more professional, we're more refocused. And I think the charities have done the same. Part of the dilemma is, though, at the local level, some of the vets here think that the charities are still up there. And some of the charities here think the vets are up there. And you need to get together and talk. But there's a lot of baggage, and this is a problem. So, I believe that vets and charities, our aims and objectives have much in common. The challenges we have are much in common. There is already a lot of cooperation at the international, national levels, but there is still a lot of inbuilt prejudices at the local level. So as we've already said, vets are only interested in money, they don't care about animals. Charities, unrealistic expectations, mad, poor standards of welfare. And in this room we know that neither of these are true. But until you get them work together, you won't dispel those thoughts. So what is the common ground? And I think someone spoke this morning that clearly they are going to have different hopes, different views slightly, and you have to identify the areas of common ground and work together. And by doing that, you'll develop trust and the other things will come. As a politician, veterinary politician, I would think I've spent 80% of my time trying to build bridges from arguments that people have had, and only 20% doing anything positive. And I think this is a danger for everybody, and we just have to focus on areas of common interest and hope the rest come. So I'll assume that we're both, as animal welfare people and as vets, are trying to promote humanity. So I think you cannot, as animal welfare groups, forget people. Okay, I think you should be looking at the one medicine, holistic approach. We're going to be professional. I think we have to recognise the importance of working with other stakeholders, and the other stakeholders include the community, and impress the one medicine thing. Sonia spoke yesterday about the EU, and traditionally the EU haven't been involved with companion animals. Two reasons they are becoming so is one, the size of the market, but really the main reason that they got involved was from the human health point of view. So it is an important flag for us to latch onto. Back to dog population control. Clearly, this is an important concept. I again stress the ICANN document. We're talking about free roaming dogs as opposed to strays. And you've seen these slides before. The free roaming population can be made up of a whole range of different dogs, depending on the particular place that you are. They may be own dogs that are lost, abandoned dogs, dogs that are allowed to wander, community dogs or feral dogs. And when we've spoken before, we've said that it's important that we think not of controlling strays, but of the whole population. And the reason is that the free roaming and the owned ones can change at any one time. So we want to think of dog population control. We know that that's important because of all the problems that the dogs do. So thinking along the one medicine line, we cannot pretend that there aren't problems of injury to people, to other animals, disease. So these are real problems, and there are real problems that locals want to solve. We can't forget them. Clearly, if rabies is there, that is a major thing as well. And it's not just the fear of the disease and getting the disease, it's the costs involved. Okay. So, just to remind you, and this will bring back, this is of relevance to the last part, the ICAM framework says that you go into an area and initially you collect data and find out who the stakeholders are in that area, what are the problems in that area, what do people really worry, why are the stray dogs or cats a problem to those people. You interpret the data and identify the local priorities. Why are you trying to do it? What is worrying these people? There are various components of the strategy you can implement, and clearly it depends what the problem is as to the priorities you take. You agree an overall plan, set objectives, and then you monitor. And that's basically the thing. The other message, which is back to the theme of the thing, is that the stakeholders include you as the NGO, it includes the vets, and really we are, of all the stakeholders, pretty close together. And just as you working with other welfare groups is important, if the vets and the NGOs had a better working together relationship, it's going to have much more influence on the rest of the stakeholders. So, why should a vet in practice who's feeding his kids worry about stray dog control? Now, this is taken from a lecture I give to vets, so I'm sort of over there, trying to make them see why they should be keen on this, and there might be some lessons for you. First thing, the obvious thing I guess, is that when we qualify, we give an oath, and they'll be different in different countries, but it's all vaguely the same, I guess. And in the UK, it ends up that more than ever we ensure the welfare of the animals committed to my care. Now, committed to my care means really my patients. Or does it? Does it mean wider? So how do you include stray dogs into that? We are clearly the animal advocate, and as a profession, we should stand up for the animals. And sadly, I don't think we've done that always very well. But we're getting better. Sonia mentioned it was initially the Treaty of Amsterdam, but it's written into the Treaty of Lisbon that in the EU, animals are sentient beings now, which means that any law or any action should at least take that into consideration. It doesn't mean that you can't kill things, but it means that it has to be done in a good way and that has to be taken into account. And clearly that has an implication for stray control, because it has to be done in a humane way. It has to take account of the fact that the animals are sentient. So as the animal advocate, there is a legal and a moral pressure, at the very least, for the vet to be involved. But really, if you're a business, you need more than that to persuade you. If they're there. So how can you say to a vet, being involved in stray control is actually a business builder for your practice? I think the first thing to say is, free-roaming dogs are potentially a source of disease and injuries to the pets in our care. So we must have an interest in it. Because I've got to ensure the welfare of the animals in my care, and there are all these infected strays, I have an interest, at the very least. I am a person, and there are lots of people die, 55,000 people die of rabies every year. Clearly, as a member of the community in an endemic rabies area, I must have an interest. However, the free-roaming dogs may include own dogs. they might be the animals in my care. It may be that it's a lost dog or an abandoned dog. So I must have an interest because these could be my clients or my potential clients. And you cannot just say, no, they're not, they're strays, because we know that free-roaming dogs could be owned ones. So that's in our interest. And really, can we be selective? Because this one's got a lead on, we care for it, but not for this one. Well, what about this one, which is a community dog? We can't be selective about caring, I believe. If we want to retain all the good things about the James Herriot caring image, we have to care about everything. But is there any more? And when we've talked about stray dog free roaming control programs, there are the different components, and this includes registration, identification, and in many countries, this is a veterinary procedure. It may be linked to the requirements for vaccination, and it may be linked to neutering. In the UK, we have no registration, no compulsory vaccination. If I lived in a country and was marketing my clinic and that people had to come once a year by law, that would be a dream for us. I mean, we have to go and drag them in. And so the law says they've got to come once. Once they're in, you can do with them what you like. You can convert them that your clinic is the best in the world, but you've got to get them in the door. And to do this, it's a legal requirement. It's a dream, you know. And when Sonia was talking about European-wide registration, what a dream. But okay. So I can't see why a vet wouldn't be keen to be involved. So it's a marketing opportunity. You've got them in. There are other areas, clearly with sterilisation. We know from the control, it's the pet dogs that are potentially the most productive. So they're the ones you want to get at, really. There are cost implications, clearly. And I think most neuterines are actually subsidised. So the cost of our neuterine, if you cost it at the time, is much less than if we're doing a fracture, because traditionally they're cheaper. And that's the way life is. And we will do it for charities at a reduced rate. It's, to be honest, neutering in our clinic, I think we do it for nothing, basically, in the end, because if we take all the costs in, we don't make anything. It's a lost leader for different reasons. So if a neutering clinic opened up next to us and was doing it for free, it probably wouldn't cost us anything, because it's a bit of work that we're not making any money on anyway. So I don't see charity clinics a problem for me as a business. If we have one next door, you have to adapt to what you do and you make your money in other ways. To get people in is a good opportunity to talk about responsible pet ownership, and say it's an opportunity to market your clinic. So, why should practitioners care? I think they have a moral obligation. They have a professional obligation as the animal advocate, and a professional obligation to the community, because we do have expertise to improve public health. We have certainly a professional obligation to our clients, because we're trying to protect their pets. It will give us an enhanced image as a carer, and a tremendous opportunity to market the clinic. So there are lots of good reasons, good business reasons to get involved. There's also other good reasons, I believe, to work with local charities. And this is a bit like the cat protection lady said yesterday with the local groups. We have an open day every year we have a big car park, so all the charity groups count. And actually the picture here is the RSPCA advertising their cheap neutering clinic in our car park. But it's not a threat to us. I think it's a good thing. So what does it do for us? It enhances our goodwill. I think it enhances image. It shows we are responsible people within our community. It will potentially increase our client base. I think in some countries, maybe neutering helps to develop surgical skills. I think for us that's not an issue, but I don't think it's a financial gain. The gains are all the other things. I think if you work with charities, clearly it's in your interest that the prices are kept down. They have to pay your way, but we get the benefits in the other ways. What about having good charities nearby? And Dogs Trust are hoping to build a shelter near to us, which will be great. And why is that great? Because if it's a good quality shelter that has an education program, those clients, those owners, will already be partly educated. That means they're on the ladder, and so we can then introduce our schemes to them. We can talk about our health schemes much easier in a client that's already been sensitised. So for us to have a good quality rehoming centre is not only good for the community, but it's sort of stimulating the clients who are more likely to buy in to services. So it's a practice building. So I think there is compromise, it should be symbiosis, but there is a lot of potential for you to work with vets, but it's got to be a win-win. I think you have to think, what benefits will I get from it, and what benefits will the vet get from it, and not just assume they're going to do it for nothing anyway, because remember they're kids, okay? And so I think you have to be realistic, but there are lots of good things that can be done. So what's the future? I think we should be thinking of ourselves, both vets and welfare charities, as part of the community healthcare team. And so I think that's come through in a couple of the lectures. Don't take animals separate from the rest of the community. We need to change the way people behave, and clearly educated public, well, you can educate them about animal welfare, and I think that would be a win-win for us as well. So I think education is the key. I think we also mustn't blind ourselves to avoid certain things, and this is with my Blue Dog hat on. Blue Dog, if you remember, is a dog bite prevention program for children. And it's developed on good scientific grounds, but we've had significant problems with the marketing because people feel, owners feel it's not for them, their dog never bites, and so on. But also some potential supporters, maybe vets, maybe charities or whatever, or maybe commercial companies, are unkeen to get associated because it's a negative message. You can't say that dogs have problems, and I think that's a worry. I think they do have problems, but they're solutions. So I think we have to put our hands on our heart and do that as well. But that then leads to new lessons. In being involved with the Blue Dog, we've become involved with accident prevention. The idea really is to say that most dog bites occur in the home by their own dog. And really, it should be redefined as an accident in the home. And we've spoken at World Accident Prevention Conferences and whatever. And I've actually found out, which you may know anyway, but the way that you put a message across is very important. So if you are showing this sort of thing to prevent dog bite, that might actually turn a lot of people off. They then have an automatic blinker and they don't take on the message. So there is a lot of psychology and a lot of lessons that we can learn from professionals in communication and media in how we try to get the message across. Because we're vets, we're wonderful, we know everything, but we can communicate clinical things, hopefully. But actually there's a lot more stuff that we don't know. And I think that will be the same for you as a charity. There are skills that you need to get. So I think the dog bite prevention has been a big eye-opener because we do need other skills. So what we've done with the Blue Dog is we're developing a new website, which I'll be very happy to talk to people at the speakeasy about. But the idea is it's for parents, for kids, for professionals. It involves a teacher's toolbox. But the main thing is it's all the good things about a dog, because nobody would go on to a website that is about prevention, because they don't think they have a problem. So if they go on to all the good things about a dog, we can then, by nifty means, direct them to the message we want. And clearly this is another profession. But it's just to say that I think this is the way forward. And I think you as charities will also have to embrace the new technologies and whatever to get the message across in a good way. So, I think I'm nearly done. I believe that improved welfare involves educating people to change their attitudes and behaviour. And this can only be successful if multiple stakeholders in the community work to an agreed strategy. And vets in practice are one stakeholder, you're a stakeholder, but there are others there. Each stakeholder group will have their own agenda, and that is the reality. And there may be, historical baggage, so concentrate on points of common interest. Don't go back over all the old things. Try to find something in common, work on that, and you'll find that over the years, you'll actually find more areas in common and things will evolve. You may need to compromise. Clearly, we all think we're right, but you may need to compromise for the sake of progress. But there must be a perceived advantage to get buy-in by anybody. Nobody is that altruistic. There's got to be something for them. There are multiple stakeholders, but really NGOs in welfare and vets have very common interests as long as you talk to each other and get rid of the suspicion. And to leave you with this, I think you've got to enjoy yourself. Life's very stressful, and the only way you'll avoid burnout is to be silly. And I've managed to be silly most of my life. So. Okay, thank you.